Wow.
Um, a few seconds. Let's power on the generator. Okay, thank you to everybody who is joining. Thank you to everybody on YouTube. Okay, I think our light is back. that I, I knew there was no light, much light on the what was it called? On the inverter, but I was like maybe because the sun is coming up, it will suffice, but it proved not to be. It will suffice. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I don't know why this. Can you hear me? The background light is too bright. So thank you to everybody who is joining on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who is joining on TikTok. Thank you to you. I really appreciate you joining. Okay, let's check TikTok if the camera is okay. So that then we'll be able to also respond to comments on TikTok. TikTok. Yes, I think the original small bucket is 19,000. 19,000. I think the Airdrop is too much. Let me just remove the.
We're using the gem for our work, Abi.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
No,
okay.
okay. Tell Sister Lawa
Okay.
let's check. So if you have any question about painting, leave it in the chat. Bro, where can I find screen already made in line? Online, yes, we sell ready-made screed, which is called Robusto screed. One bucket is 32,000. Where are you located? Our store is in Lagos, Eputu, Eputu, opposite the Eputu Mall. So while you are going to this, where you are going to Ekpe, that's the Lekki Ekpe Expressway. That's where our store is located. So that's where our store is located. So that's Lagos. So somebody says which screening is good for interior walls. Let's check. Hold on for me, please. Let me check. Move closer now. Let me be checking the camera. Okay. This is YouTube. This is TikTok. So I just want us to. I think they are good, Abby. Okay. Let's check. Okay, let me hold on. Okay. Let's put it on TikTok. Yes, which screen? Between POP screeding and cement screeding, which one should you use for the interior of your house? The answer is you can use any of them. But what will determine the type of screeding material you use, whether it's POP screed, cement screed, or putty screed, is the type of durability you need. Now, for POP screed, the advantage of using POP screed is in most cases it looks smoother than any other screeding at the end of the day. Now, the other advantage of POP screed compared to cement screed is that for cement screed, it can react with your paints when you did not use an alkali resisting primer. But POP screed does not have that. So, but when you want strength, like when you want something that's very, very solid, go for cement screed. But another alternative to cement screed that is also strong as cement screed is putty screed. Putty screed are ready-made screed that most companies are now producing. Some produce their own in buckets like this one. For example, for us we have Robusto screed, which is also very, very good and very strong. You can use it for both inside and outside. Other companies produce their own as powder that you just need to mix with water and then use it. So those ones are also very good. So is it that if you want the best results, you can go with putty screed. But if you are somebody, maybe you're a painter or you're a house owner and you can't get putty screed, go with either POP screed or cement screed. But know that when you use cement screed, you need to use a primer, an alkali resisting primer, so that it will not react with your paint, and then you start seeing some alkali attack, like all those things that look like water is on the wall. Not really water, that looks like you pour gari on the wall. So that's alkali attack. So if you did not use primer, you end up having that when you use cement screed. So if you can hear me very well, say I. So I'm not too sure if the network is okay. You yes, yes, big Pablo, I'm here. Boss, please, I have a question. Please ask your question. I'm here to answer all questions. Omo, this is it won't kill me. Oh. Recording content, no be more. No, no, no. Just on it on the what's good. Then let me direct it to my side. My only fear is.
Station so that you know distract this over.
I'm looking at the what was it called? Sef? The noise, so that you know. That's why I did not even want to on it before. Is it in number one? Number one, Abby? I think it's okay. So that you know be causing no, don't move it close. It's okay there. It's okay. So that you not be causing noise in the mic. So I will just have to make sure. Yes. Boss, please, I have a question. Okay, I think I've answered those questions. Can we paint satin without priming and screening? Can you paint satin wall without priming and screening? The answer is yes, but there are some things you need to take into consideration. The number one thing you need to take into consideration is the wall smooth. You know, there are some walls that you see that you'll be blessing the bricklayer that does that wall. They will smooth it, and then the place will be like wow, very smooth and very flat. That is where you can use satin without doing screening. But if your own wall is not like that, the other alternative you can use is to use matte paint or other high grade emulsion paint like weather mask. Now if you still want to paint satin on that wall, what you need to do is to do screening on the wall, and then you use a primer and then you paint. Now in terms of using primer on a wall, before you even use satin paint, yes, for most wall it is, especially for bare wall like barren wall that they've not put any paint on it before, it is very important that you use primer on it. Why? Because if you not use primer, your the what's it called, the cement they use for building that particular house will end up attacking the paint you put on it. We call it alkali attack. So what you need to do is to apply an alkali resisting primer before you paint. So even though you are not going to do screening, use that primer and then you paint your satin as long as the wall is smooth. Why? Because satin paint is just like you laying nylon on a floor. If the floor is flat, you notice that the nylon will also be flat. But if the wall is bumpy, you see that the nylon too is bumpy. That's satin paint for you. It will show the real nature of your floor. Whereas for matte paint, they will try to hide all those bumpiness for you. So those are the difference, and that is when you need to do screening or not do screening before using satin. So that's a good question. Let's move on to the next question. So the big bucket of satin is 72,000 naira. So that's this one right here, 72,000. So can we paint satin without priming? I think I've answered that. What paint is good use on tyrolean? So if you have a tyrolean wall, these are the best paints you can use to paint your tyrolean wall that will make it come out and last long. At number one paint is, yes, ordinary emulsion. Yes, you can use ordinary emulsion to paint your tyrolean wall, because emulsion paints does not have that sheen, that shininess. It does not have that sheen, and tyrolean walls need paints that has low sheen. Now but though emulsion paint does not last long compared to other paints I'm going to show you, so the other paints you can also use is weather mask paint. Weather mask paint has high coverage. It has high coverage and it will quickly catch. Like what I mean by catch is that if you paint it on tyrolean it has all this roughness on it, and it makes it soak a lot of paint. So if you use emulsion paint, you are going to use a lot of it. But if you are using weather mask paint, which is a high grade paint, or you even use matte paint, which is also a high grade paint, you use less of it. So if you want the best results, go for weather mask or matte paint for your tyrolean wall. So but if you don't have the money, you can still use emulsion. It's just that you are going to use more of the emulsion paints. But weather mask and matte, they go very very well on tyrolean wall and they look very very beautiful. Another tip I will give you is that when you are painting your tyrolean wall is that try to use deep color on tyrolean walls. Like tyrolean wall, they love deep color. When you see deep colors on tyrolean wall, especially when the surrounding color is light or more, you are going to love it. Most people are now using black for their tyrolean wall and it looks very very beautiful as well. So weatherman's paint is 70,000. Weatherman's paint is 70,000. So matte is 68,000. Matte is 68,000. And both weatherman's and matte have the same coverage. What paint is good? Okay, I think I've answered that. Please let me check YouTube, because that's where we are recording our video, so that we'll be able to post later, so that we know that we are on the same page. So guys, let's double tap on the screen so that other people who are not live, who are not here, can join to ask their question. So we also be talking about dampness and how you can solve dampness on your wall, because if you have a paint, you have a beautiful paint, and then dampness is what is causing the paint to not look good. It's not very, very okay. So always make sure you treat dampness before you even paint. So it's very, very important. Okay, so if you have a question, leave it in the chat. If you have a question, leave it in the chat. So if you are watching on YouTube, TikTok, make sure you double tap on your screen. Make sure you like this live, so that other people who are not here can join and know about the live. So so which one lasts longer? So both weathermas, between weathermas and matte, which one lasts longer? And the simple answer is both have the same longevity. For us, we give you a warranty of 5 years for both of them. So, and the other similarity between weathermas and matte paints is that both of them have the same durability, they have the same coverage, they have the same, like, name it, almost the same look. So both of them have the same durability, the same strength. So in terms of whether like in terms of how long they last, yes, they, and how many you need. So if you are a painter, you want to do quotation for weathermas, use the same quotation you do for matte paints. That's the same quotation you use for weathermas paint. So it's, they both last the same way, and they both have the same coverage. But weathermas comes out more beautiful than matte when you paint it on the wall. So so thank you to Peaches for the follow. I really appreciate you. This is why me, I don't like Android though. They will just be slow, 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 slow. Something. Which normal emotion and white normal emotion and white man, which is brighter? So between normal emotion and matte, which one is brighter? It depends on where you are buying your paint from. But for us, our white emotion is more brighter than the matte paint. So the other paints, that if you need something that's very, very bright from Armstrong, you can get our Super Cray. It is the brightest of all our whites. Not that others are not bright, but it's more brighter than every other paint. So that's Super Cray, and it's the one between ordinary emotion and matte. But even the matte is very bright. So thank you for the rose, Finanzas Solas. Thank you very much for the rose. I really appreciate you. So let's move on to questions that people have been sending. Let's see if we can answer a lot of them. There are a lot of questions that we have here. So let's move on to them. Okay. So if you have your question, leave it in the chat. I'll be answering why I'm answering all other questions that people have sent in before. Oh God. Why? So the Armstrong, that Super Cray is it 40,000? Then Matt is 68,000. Weathermass is 70,000. Thank you. Thank you very much for Flower Pasta. Thank you to everybody who is sharing this live. I really appreciate you.
your paint can still be peeling even without water on your wall, and this is what can cause it. The number one reason you are seeing your paint peeling was improper preparation while they were painting, before they paint the wall. So there are some things you must do before you paint any wall. The number one thing is to dust the wall. Make sure you remove every dust on the wall. So the other thing you need to also ensure is that the screening or whatever it is you want to paint on is solid and firm. There are some people that want to paint and then they paint on a wall that has issue. Like, what do I mean by issue? The screening they do on the wall is already dusting off, and there's no way you dust it and every other thing you spray anything on it, it will keep dusting. So for those type of surface, you need to use a wall stabilizer first before you paint. Another thing maybe probably the person failed to do is using a primer. You see, the work of a primer has a lot of advantage. One of it is to make sure your paints bind very well with the wall after you finish painting. So if a wall you did not use a primer, it can also cause your paint to peel at the end of the day. So it is not every wall that peel. Every wall that has a peeling paint that is caused by water. Sometimes it's just the wall preparation they do before they paint that particular wall. So you need to take note of that. And if you have that particular situation, the only thing you need to do is to scrape up the wall, use a primer so that whatever paint you want to put on it at the end of the day end up sticking and you don't end up having the same first problem. But if you notice that the wall, after you scrape off the wall, the underneath material is not very strong, get a wall stabilizer, use it on the wall. Before you can also apply primer after that, and then you paint your wall, so you won't have that issue again. But if it is water that's affecting it, you need to treat that water. You need to remove the plastering, apply Costa 2K and crystal coat and even damp master if you can afford it, and then you replaster and then repaint. That's how to solve it properly. Because if you say, okay, let me go cheap and then start using screening or any other thing on that particular wall, when water is affecting you, you will end up spending more money, extra money at the end of the day. Dampness will not stop on your wall unless you do this first. The number one thing you need to do is to identify the real cause of the dampness. You see, it's not every dampness that you see on the wall that is caused by rising damp. No, there are some dampness that are behavioral in nature. What do I mean by behavioral? Some people have walls that normally their room is has a lot of condensation, and then they travel and close all the windows. What that would do is that all the condensation that's supposed to be escaping from your room will end up falling on the wall, and then you see your paint spilling or you see mold growing on your wall. Somebody sent me video about yesterday, and he said he showed me the video that the person usually travel, and that was why a lot of mold is on the wall. So if you are somebody like this, always make sure you get, like, you open the window. Maybe you give your neighbor the key to your place, and let them open the window for you occasionally. So for dampness, so the first thing after identifying the cause, whether it is from rising damp, condensational damp, or even penetrating damp. What do I mean by penetrating damp? Penetrating damp are damp that comes from probably your leaking roof, or when rain is falling from outside, probably due to the fact that the way they position your roof is not okay. Rain falls on the wall and then it's soaked on the other side of the house. So you need to identify the real type of dampness, like the real cause of the dampness. So after identifying the real cause, you need to go deep and then check, like, after identifying the real cause, because for rising damp the way you treat it is different. For condensation damp the way you treat it is different. Like I said, for condensation damp, if you want to treat it, the only thing you need to do is to ensure proper ventilation in that space. For example, for the space you are hold on, for the space you are having that issue for condensation damp, let me put this thing in silence. So for example, for the place you are having condensation damp, what you need to do, in some cases you might realize that the window is very small, so you need to increase the size of that window or increase the number of windows in that space, so that way you solve the dampness without applying any chemical. For penetrating damp, what you need to do is to identify, okay, if it is a leaking roof, you need to block that leakage first. Probably your neighbor up has a leaking toilet, you need to block it first before you now say, okay, if you are seeing mold on your own place, you can use a top mold defense. Use a top mold defense to kill the mold before you now repaint once it's dry. So that's how to solve that particular one. But for rising damp, that is when you need to use all this DPC. We have physical DPC. Let me bring that DPC. We have the physical DPC, we have chemical DPC, which is damp master. So let me show you the physical DPC. So this is a physical DPC that you can use. This is physical DPC that you can still use in your house if it's properly done. Like you put the physical DPC below the close to the foundation of the house, and then you replaster the place, and then it will stop water from rising. So if you don't want to use, if you don't want to start breaking the down part of your house, there is also another solution you can use. You can use damp master. You inject damp master close to the base of the house, which is a chemical we sell. So you use it close to the base, so that one will stop water from coming up. After that, you then chip up, like after that, you then, after chipping the wall of the house, before you even put damp master, you chip off the wall. You also apply coaster 2K and crystal coat on the wall to stop, because your wall is wet already. So once the wall is wet, you need to treat it, unless if you leave it that way, it might end up affecting whatever it is you want to put on it. The only time you might want to leave it without applying even coaster 2K or crystal coat is after you have applied the DPC, whether this one or the chemical one. You wait for months for the wall to dry very well before you now say, okay, you want to repaint that place. But if you don't want to start waiting and then leaving your wall barren or empty, you can use Kosatuke and crystal coat. Why? Because the work of those both Kosatuke and crystal coat is to serve as a barrier between your wet wall and the new plaster you want to put. So they will serve as a barrier, and then they like water. They like water, but your plastering does not like water. So they like water, so once you put them, they will serve as a defense system between your wet wall and your new plaster. So that is what you need to do. So after applying those, you replaster back, and then you do another screeding. If you do screeding to make sure the old wall that you did not chip and the new wall that you've chipped, that you've removed the plaster, now becomes flat and smooth again. So that is the proper way to solve dampness. Because if you just say, okay, let me do screeding, you have not really solved the cause of the dampness. You are only doing powder. You are just powdering the surface of the thing, and then the thing is still there. So and then you realize that you paint, and after 3 weeks, after a month, you realize that the thing comes back again. So solve dampness properly before it causes you a lot of problem. And all these things are caused by, usually for the rising damp, they are caused by people not using DPC in their house. You see, installing DPC for most house will cost you about 500,000 to ₦1,000,000. If you did not do this, like when they are doing the foundation at that foundation level, if you did not do this, you are going to spend times 10 of that amount later on in the future. So but instead of cutting corners while you are building your house, just let them use this thing, because installing it later will cost you like times 5 to times 10 of what you are supposed to even spend, and there's no guarantee that it will even work. So always make sure you use this and use proper material while you are building your house. Yes, we do squiding. Somebody is asking, do you do squiding? Please, I don't mention any other product's name in my own chat. So if you want to know about them, go to their depot and ask about them. So our store is at Eputu, Lekki Ekpe Expressway, after Awoyaya. So you can check the number on the screen, 0904-357-5896. You can call that number on normal call. My staff will pick, or you message me on WhatsApp. I will be the one to respond to you. So guys, let's double tap on the screen so that other people will join this live. So I to you, Baba Aruno, I to you. Yes, we do squiding. Do you have terrazzo? No, we don't have terrazzo. I think terrazzo is a decorative paint, so we don't sell the decorative paints. So yes, my number is on the screen, 0904-357-5896. That's the number to chat. I'll be the one to respond to you personally if you are chatting, but if you are calling, my staff will direct you on what to do. So So leave your question in the chat. Leave your question in the chat. Let's double tap on the screen as well. Let's double tap on the screen. Don't let me. There's something I need to mention. If you see me on the street and then you did not talk and you later come on social media and start saying, Mr. Tope, I saw you on the road, we are going to fight. You see, a lot of people usually see me on the road and then they will be like, I know this guy. In most cases, people will be like, good morning, and then we'll start conversation and then we take it from there. But some people will be like, they will not say anything, they will just see me, and then later on they will come online and start saying, I saw you that day. That is not good. Why? Because when you see me, don't think this person can be pompous. No, I'm very down to earth. For most of you that have met me on the road, you know that I don't say, who is this person? No, 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 no. My brother, how far, how is it going? Then in some cases we even start doing business together. So don't miss the opportunity of seeing me, because even though if I cannot help you, at least I might know somebody that can help you. Just say hi, just say good morning. Like, even though na Hausa you fit talk, just say hi. Nakwana, Miss, I'll use my little Hausa that I know to answer you. So when you see me, just try to say hi. I saw somebody. I went to buy this DPC yesterday at the market, and then when I left the place, I was like, let me go back to this guy. And then when I got back, it was like somebody even shared your video with me a few minutes ago. I was like, he says he usually see my video, but he never mentioned it at first until I went back and I said I showed him my page and we started making conversation. And that's how he ended up getting some business from me. So always try to say hi, even though you are shy. I'm also a shy person. Don't mind me. This is when you can use matte paint instead of satin. Yes, people be like satin, use satin for interior, but it is not every time you use satin paint for the interior of your house. This is when matte paint will do you justice than you buying satin for your interior. So when you need to use it is when you have a bumpy wall and you don't want to do squidding. That is when they were doing plastering in your house, they did not plaster it very well. They did not smoothing the wall. The wall is looking kind of like, it's not that it's looking too rough, but it's looking rough in some places, and you don't want to do squidding. Go for matte paint, because using satin on that particular surface will expose you. It will show the world that your wall is not smooth. It will show that everybody come and see you see this rough wall. But with matte paint is your paddy in that kind of situation. It will help you hide that imperfection that people will not even know those things are there unless they look closely to the wall. Abba, if that even is your enemy that can come too close to the wall to notice those things. But for most people that come to your place, when you use matte paint, even for the interior of your house, they will not notice most of the bumpiness. But if you use satin will be like, hey, make una come check this thing. So that is the difference between satin and matte. So yes, satin is good, but when your wall is not smooth, matte is your best choice. Okay, let's check. Yes, my number is on the screen, 090435755896. Yes, we do squidding. So these are some of the service we render. We do squidding, we do painting, we do dam treatment, which is our bread and butter. Yes. So we do dam treatment. For those of you that have peeling walls, that your paint is peeling, or you see watermark on your building, or you even want to prevent the water from coming up later, yes, you can get our service. We also help you design your house. Like, okay, you want to paint a house, you don't know which color to choose, you want us to help you give it some colors that you can see before you even go ahead and paint. So that's one of the advantage of working with us. So you see, we help you generate some models that shows you that, okay, this is how this particular color will look on your house, and then you see it, oh, this is the one I'm going for, before you even put one bucket of paint on the wall, so you know how it's going to look already, which is what we do for most of our customers that end up patronizing us. Yes, it costs some money, so but it's not money that would send you away, but at least you know what you want to get before you even paint your house. So those are the services we render. So very soon we are also going to be going into landscaping, because when you paint your house, you also need landscaping. Like you need some flowers, some designs at in the exterior part of your house to make it even look more beautiful. There's nothing that make me happy than seeing a beautiful house. When you see beautiful houses, there's a joy that comes, like uh, across your face, like you'll be happy. There was this time about 5 even 7 years ago, I used to travel down to Lagos just to come and see beautiful house. I'm a village boy now, so I used to come to Lekki, all those Lekki. I would trek like for hours inside Lekki just looking at beautiful houses, not knowing that today I will be the one designing those houses for people. But it still gives me joy to today seeing beautiful houses. So which is why we're also thinking of going into landscaping, to also add to that beauty you see in your house. Mr. ODG, real estate. Sorry, I can't comment on any brand. If you want the best paints, go with Armstrong Paints. For any other products, you have to meet their representative if you want to know about the paint. So I don't comment on any other paint. Using Can you mix primer plus satin, or can you even mix primer with any other paint? The answer is no. The proper way to use a primer is as a coat, is as a base coat. Like you paint it first before you now paint any other paint you want to paint. If you do the mistake of painting primer, like mixing primer, you put primer inside bucket and then you put satin inside or any other paint and you roast it together like oge akamu. What you see in that situation is that you will end up seeing that it will weaken the adhesion of your paint. The paint will not stick very well to the wall. And if you are doing this with satin paint, you are mixing primer with satin paint, it will reduce the sheen, the shininess of your satin. You would think it's emulsion you paint on the wall. So don't mix primer with satin. The best way to use primer with satin is paint it on the wall first, and after that paint satin on it. So that is the proper way to use a primer with satin or any other paint. There's a difference between a DPM and a DPC. So this is a DPC material. So it's usually very thin. Is in 6 inches, six is either is in 6 inches block, 9 inches or 12 inches size. So like this one, this is DPC. This is the one they use for on top of your foundation, like on the block. Why your DPM is meant to go on your floor, like on your floor. So it's that DPM nylon is usually very wide. Like just go to the market, it's very common than even DPC. I went to Akure the other day and I was looking for this thing. They don't have it, even one store like this. So one person was even like, one of my customers was like, she has. I was like, okay, bring it. She brought out DPM because that is what is in demand. But for DP, if you are in a situation like this, always know that DPC, this is DPC, why the bigger one is DPM. Use the two together. Don't say I'm going to use one without the other. Use the two together. That way you can sleep at night and never have nightmare. Because if you did not use it while you are doing construction, trust me, it's going to come back 5, even 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, and then you have to spend a lot of money, and you're not going to be happy when you are spending that money. Your eyes is going to be like this. So when you are spending that money later on, so before you have that sleepless night and all those pattern on your wall, use a DPC and a DPM. If your wall is chalky and then you want to repaint that wall, here are some things you must do before repainting that wall. So there are different things that can cause a chalky wall. Number one is that the paint they use might not be of good quality, or the paint has already expired. Yes, paints usually have expiry dates, which is why most manufacturers will tell you that this paint can use 5 years. What they mean is that after 5 years you might start seeing some pattern, that is maybe it's chalking on the wall, or doing any other thing on the wall, or even fading and any other pattern. So that is chalking for you. The other reason you might be seeing that chalking is that, like I said, they use a paint that is not of good quality, or they mix too much water with that particular paint while they were painting it, which is not so good. So when you have this particular situation, what you need to do is to get try to scrape off the paint if you can, or sandpaper the paints and see if it is, maybe you try with a small sample space first, sandpaper the place and see if what you are getting at the end of the day is solid. If that one is solid, then that means once you sandpaper everything, you have a good base to put your paint. But if after sandpapering your place, the place is not looking good again, like it's still dusting, what you need to do is to get a stabilizer, a wall stabilizer. Get a wall stabilizer, though we don't sell wall stabilizer now. So but get a wall stabilizer, put it on the wall. It will make your wall look solid and firm. So once you have that solid and firm wall, then you can use a primer, and then you use your paints on the wall, so that way you won't have that chalkiness coming back again. But there are sometimes the chalkiness can also be coming from probably the screening they do. Yes, in that case what you need to do is to, for the screening material, is to remove the screening. There's no other way. So you remove the screening if the screening is too weak, because it's just like having a weak foundation. Once you have that weak foundation, anything you build on the house will not be strong. So but if the screening is still okay, that's when you use a stabilizer, a primer, and then you paint. Let me check the mic. Is it still working? It's working. Okay.